Dr. Matthew Sterling Benson is Director of the Sudan's Research Programme at the London School of Economics and Political Science. He joins us now. Hello, Matthew. I think you might have heard what Naba had to say. The Sudanese army says it's RSF. We haven't heard from RSF yet. For you, how significant is this latest development?
It's very significant, and it's very significant for at least three reasons. First and foremost is really that we see a sustained war in which civilians are being used as pawns, effectively, so their lives are really not counting for much in this war, which is extremely devastating. There's mass displacement, there's numerous people who have been killed, and the violence does not seem to be stopping. Secondly, it really shows that the RSF is trying its best to not show that it, or to demonstrate that it's not going to be contained to Darfur. It's trying to show that it can reach Port Sudan, the de facto head of the country. And it's showing this as a threat. So I view it as kind of almost like a caged animal that's now fought in a corner and realizes it's very vulnerable and is trying to prove to everyone, well, if you do this, I'm going to really show what I can do. And third, it can really showcase what's taking place with external patrons. I mean, these drones will not have been coming just from Sudan. They will have really relied upon the UAE and China and so forth. So it shows that the RSF and of course the SAF and different warring sides still have their external patrons which are still vested in maintaining this war.
You know, in March, government forces reclaimed most of the actual capital, Khartoum. So is it possible to say who actually has the upper hand in this conflict?
Things are volatile, as this current event shows, and that's the point of this event as far as I can really see it. So, yes, there is de facto control, relatively speaking, in Khartoum, but at the same time, there's still loads of unexploded ordinances. There's still this looming threat where you have drones that are being used in order to just terrify people and really provoke public reaction in order to push it to one side or to the other. And in the midst of all of this, of course, is the thing we have to keep holding on to, is that it's crowding out civilian voices, which really should be centered when we think about how a potentially and hopefully as soon as possible a post-conflict Sudan is going to look like, because it's putting violence and centering this modality as a way of getting people's attention. And the real risk here is that you begin to reward the bad guys for fighting a war while crowding out these civilian voices which are calling for a new way of doing things in Sudan's history, which is to really think about public service delivery and to think about restraining violence and not using it as the way that you obtain legitimacy, which is really what I see taking place with the RSF right now.
Yeah, it's really troubling. And we know it's called the Forgotten War. Many, many millions of people at risk, not only from the war itself, but also from a humanitarian point of view and famine. Talk to me about the regional instability, though. We know that Chad has taken a lot of people fleeing Sudan, but we also know that there are conflicts within South Sudan. And I'm just wondering about the region as a whole.
Well, the region as a whole is extraordinarily fragile. And the region as a whole we need to really be thinking about, and it's great that you're bringing that perspective in. This is not a war that is simply about Sudanese and about these. It's also it's wrong to call it a civil war. It's really a regional war that's not only drawing in neighboring countries, but as I've mentioned already, it brings in Gulf countries and the UAE and so forth. So it's much more of a Red Sea arena, a conflict arena that's taking shape. And how this plays out is going to have devastating consequences or decisive ones for how the region as a whole will play. And this is not just the Red Sea, but also thinking about the broader Sahel. So depending on which side is able to maintain some sort of semblance of control, moderated through extreme violence, as we're seeing at the moment, there's likely to be different criminal networks that emerge throughout the Sahel, going through Chad and into neighboring countries through the broader Sahara. And then the Red Sea will have its own sort of dynamics as well. And I think that poses some real serious challenges about how you maintain any semblance of stability that can lead to flourishing of human lives, not the flourishing of these militarized and very business-oriented regimes. I mean, backing all of this is it's all about businesses. It's not actually about controlling territory. It's about maintaining the ability to predate upon the international system and upon everyday civilians in Sudan who, as we've consistently seen, do not seem to matter to the belligerents as they go and fight these wars in the way that they're doing.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us. That's Dr. Matthew Sterling Benson. He's Director of the Sudan's Research Programme at the London School of Economics and Political Science.